He needed his A game to prepare just like he needs it every time, because that's what Dave Mazur requires out of you when you're getting ready to face St. John's. He said nobody prepares tougher, nobody plays harder, and he said Xavier's got to be ready to kick it into that gear tonight.
At the feet of Chandler, sophomore from Toronto. St. John's trying to utilize width early on in front of Dave Mazur's bench, getting that fullback extended all the way onto the touchline. Alcobe. Crawford on the run, pushing the back from Bell.
It's broken up, pass from wide, broken up by Xavier. Crow takes it to the side here and clears it wide. Stirs it up the field. Alcobe takes it, puts it back towards Xavier, gives it away.
Xavier side so organized in what they do. Derek Ottom, who you just saw dish it out to the far side, Mike, he really is the controller of the midfield for the Musketeers. An interesting approach out of the gates for Xavier. You see just some steady possession for a good minute there. Andy Fleming thought that that was going to be crucial in this match, because if you allow St. John's to get comfortable, things can become really easy for this Red Storm team. And the difference for them this year is St. John's has people who can put the ball in the back of the net, several finishers, and that's a difference for the first time in a while.
Yeah, in years past, it's really only been one. Lai trying to break through. Lai continuing. Rosenberg off his line, collects. There's a little extra there as Goodall went to ground.
Goodall, he was fighting with Goodall for the ball over there. He went to ground. I thought he would be able to get in on goal.
A lot of physicality. This is Big East men's soccer. And maybe a little bit of acting in the box as well.
As Einar Lai, another one of the Norwegians that came in this year. I mean, you think about where Lai is within the context of this team. And as a sophomore, he's found his way into a couple of goals. But perhaps more importantly, they feel like the entire front three of this group can ultimately rotate around a little bit with the depth that they've built over the last offseason.
That's the difference. Xavier head coach Andy Fleming told us there's multiple ways this St. John's team can hurt you. When you've got that type of versatility, it gives you unpredictability, which you need throughout the 9-match grind that is Big East play.
Steered away from Duarte, and in possession, Jacob Goodall, the leader of the guy, among this Xavier back line and among the team, really.
First guy in, last one out for Xavier. And last year was such a rarity for the Musketeers, only a 3-win season. Big adversity for them to have to go through, but some players played out of position, some other guys learned new roles, and it was almost as if this year began earlier than expected and really got them a new sense of attitude in the offseason that now Xavier's taken, and this has been a bounce-back campaign already.
Chandler comes way out, gets a piece of Henderlong, and a free kick here for a Xavier side who admitted coming into this game you can't manufacture height.
No, they didn't. But when we said to Andy Fleming, how concerned are you, he goes, well, we've got height too. He said, we'll battle with St. John's, although it's going to be tough. But this was a concern for St. John's defensively. They felt like Xavier could strike on set pieces. Let's see what the approach is here.
Goodall sidestepped away. Comes as far as Forster. And back it goes. Skied up. German goalkeeper gets under it. Hoffelner.
Hoffelner has been a really strong addition for St. John's. And when we asked Dave Mazur about the difference between his two keepers, Hoffelner and Gavrin, he said, look, I like them both a lot, and I want to continue to use this tandem system. But he did think that Hoffelner was strong in the tone-setting role, had a leadership type about him that he really enjoys in the first 45 minutes of the game, and then giving it off to Gavron, and there's no drop-off, Mike. If anything, Gavron is another gear just in his physical frame and what he's able to do.
That's been the case here at St. John's in recent years, being willing to switch goalkeepers. Throw coming for Grant Dumler. He's really impressed in his senior season. This is really a redshirt junior season for him. His 4th year with the program. Of the 11 starters for Xavier, Andy Fleming estimated 8 or 9 had gone through a redshirt year. That's one big added year of experience across the board. Burnson. Of course, you can talk about experience till you're blue in the face. St. John's is starting a 21-year-old freshman today, so.
Well, and experience is only an issue if you don't feel like you're qualified. And I think St. John's crosses off the qualification box with the win over NC State in opening weekend. Xavier certainly does. They beat a top 3 team in Akron on opening night of the college soccer season.
They drew Kentucky, and they led in that game. Probably should have finished that one off. Drew Michigan State, another top 10 team in the preseason as well. They do feel like they play up against competition. I mean, there's something to be said for that. St. John's historically has not been an underdog. Maybe this group feels like they are. They have the target on their back now, but I don't think Xavier really minds climbing the mountain again.
No, Andy Fleming said, you guys know what it's like to get national recognition. You need to show it on this stage.
Yeah.
He said it's a new, not burden, but just new territory for St. John's to have to handle, that number 9 ranking. This team was picked 7th in the Big East preseason poll, and you can throw that notion out.
Foul from Skage Simonsen, the sophomore Norwegian, which has been a fertile ground for St. John's over the past few years recruiting-wise.
Reigning Big East Freshman of the Year, and I think that's something that teams have taken into account early on in the season. That's led Simonsen to dishing it off in key moments. 3 assists on the year to lead St. John's. I love the way the game just comes to him, and he plays within himself, makes the right play.
A foul there from Henderlong. Reaching all the way to the byline. That'll escape. Goal kick here for Xavier. And a chance to introduce Matt Rosenberg. 12 saves at Kentucky in that outstanding 2-2 game. I mean, wild stuff. He did play for the Red Bull Academy. There's a handful of Red Bull Academy guys for St. John's. Went on to UCF. And ultimately, while the staff there moved on to another goalkeeper, they told Andy Fleming, hey, he just wins. And I think Coach Fleming thought, I'd rather have that than just about any other trade out of a goalkeeper.
Just win, baby. Well, what did Andy Fleming tell us, Mike? He said, I define a goalkeeper like an NFL coach defines a quarterback.
Right.
What's your win-loss record? And, hey, that seemingly worked out pretty well for the winningest coach in Xavier men's soccer history.
Yeah, this guy's got more of an Eli Manning record than a Daniel Jones record. He's been around the block once or twice.
Absolutely.
Whether St. John's wins today or not, I'm not sure they're going to be able to displace Daniel Jones off the back of the New York Post.
No, that's definitely not going to happen. But the United Soccer coaches don't care about Daniel Jones.
No, they don't, do they? Simonsen slips a ball through. Push there. It's just wide. And it's a goal kick. Referee could have just as easily pointed at the spot.
This was marvelous build-up. Forster racing after it. There's contact there as he enters the box, and the referee gave it a look. Matt Forster's been all over the field in the opening 10 minutes of this match, and that's really strong build-up for St. John's. Happened in a flash, too.
Away from Wilson. Maybe St. John's beginning to feel it a bit over the top. Forster tries to chip it off the volley. Simonsen, clever service. All of a sudden, St. John's has come alive here in the last minute.
How about this? What a duo. Simonson with a perfect volley. You could not have placed it better. We're going to take another look at this previous play where Simonson serving it ahead to Forster, and you see from behind there's some contact there. I think in the position of the game that we're in, I totally understand what the referee is thinking there with not making the call. I don't think that it was that blatant, always debatable, but where we're at right now, St. John's, we just saw their offensive versatility on full display with Simonson and Forster.
Well, Forster didn't put up much of an argument, so one would imagine that's probably the right answer.
He's got a coach who will fight for him, too.
Let Dave Mazur have that argument, right.
Think about the tradition of St. John's, and you've got...
Long throw, flick back, effort is in! Henderlong, opening strike for Xavier, that was gorgeous. Sergi setting it up, and number 19 leads number 9, a goal to 0.
Wow, did this escalate quickly. Henderlong, right place, right time, and Sergi with a beautiful service. We talked about his ability to put the ball in the back of the net. This time, Mike, comes off a great throw right into a perfect spot in the box, and then the finish from Henderlong from the 6. Brilliance by the Musketeers.
For Henderlong, it's goal number 4. And within the Big East now, he only trails his teammate Samson Sergi for goals. Sergi's got 5. And it's Xavier that strikes the opening blow in this game. And St. John's, who had had some momentum, back into the final third again. Forster's cross ripples the outside of the net. Well, all right. We talked about how St. John's hasn't quite been in this position with this group of players. Well, now you're playing from behind in front of a now eagerly awaiting fan base to see a response.
First time in 7 matches this season. Neither one of these teams has trailed this year. Xavier's loss to Memphis, that came in extra time. So this is totally uncharted waters for St. John's, now down 1-0. What you just have to think is, okay, we've had good build-up, and the breakthrough can happen. They just have to be able to keep it up here. You can't let Xavier get any more comfortable than they have to be right now with a 1-0 lead.
We give kudos to Xavier for using that set piece to perfection. You have heard a bit about how you've got these 2 big bowls up front. It was Sergi's little flick-on header that ultimately provided the separation for that outstanding finish from Henderlong. People probably don't realize just how difficult a finish that was, having to pirouette through the ball that way.
It all started with a perfect throw-in. You could not have asked for anything better on the lead-up. That was just set up so well by Xavier. It's easy to see why they're a top 20 team.
And can they break through again with Henderlong? Otim. At the feet of Wilson. And they're comfortable going back to Goodall.
I've been impressed with Xavier's shape in this 4-4-2. They've come out and established that. St. John's has showed in flashes what they can be with a couple of opportunities, Simonson finding Forster, but in the opening 15 minutes, there's been a cognizant effort by Xavier to just establish a shape and set the tone on the road in a difficult place to play, a place that Xavier got haunted 2 years ago here.
That's right. Forster in pursuit will ricochet into the penalty area, and Xavier able to clear their line with ease. It is kind of funny when we were asking about coming back to Belson Stadium, and Andy Fleming goes, well, there is new turf there, so the game may play a little bit differently. And I think he was pretty happy with the actual atmosphere around the game. Ball struck and hits off the foot of Goodall, the center back. Runs back to Hoffelner, who allows just his second goal in what now is 85 minutes. In goal for St. John's. Now Kobe's done a good job stepping into that outside back role in his first year. And struck over the top, too far by Crawford.
Now Kobe was a late addition for St. John's. And with Johan Akilon having injury issues, that's made Alcobe's presence in the back line that much more important. An Israel native, St. John's with 9 different countries represented on this roster this year, which is not uncommon. And he's come in, and Dave Mazur said he's just taken on the role and run with it. It's very solid.
Said he wanted to come to the United States. Said also that he wanted to, this is hammered toward the goal, and grabbed by Rosenberg. The effort by Crawford. But wanted to come to the United States. Wanted to come to New York, too. That wasn't to be lost in translation. Another look here.
Crawford just booting it. Had some numbers that could have gotten within fair distance towards the far post, but let it rip, and you don't mind the aggressiveness this early in that spot.
The point of the Red Storm pressure is Simonson up front. Lai joins in. They're going a man for a man among the back four right now to try and get the ball away from Xavier, and they've done that. Ball for Simonson gets lobbed away. Ushered through by Crawford. That won't find Lai.
What's so important here for St. John's is that they don't allow Xavier to take hold of the pace of this game, because Andy Fleming said that was the top key to us yesterday for his Musketeers. If they could control it in the midfield, that's how they wear teams down. It's what they did from the get-go. It's who they are. They shut down Akron 2-0 on opening night and scored early, and then really just kept Akron from doing much of anything. That's the formula for Xavier. But for St. John's, you've got to show that you've got balance offensively and try to respond here.
It's Bell. Tim short-armed that. Rather Wilson. And will spring out of play.
I'll tell you what, Big East opener. Quite the atmosphere here at Belson. They brought the students out. They've come out for a top 10 team. You can sense the vibe in Queens that St. John's has that buzz about them again, and that's special. Special to see here tonight.
They had a little block party outside. St. John's flag out and about. Supporters section down behind the Xavier goal, mostly full. You know, there is something pretty exciting going on here with St. John's. I mean, you think about it across sports, and obviously a change in the most prolific sport at the school in men's basketball, but ultimately I think that the new athletic director, Mike Cragg, I think is done a good job of trying to build a little more camaraderie among the community, try and pour a little more effort across the board. It's been pretty notable.
In less than a year, Mike Craig has really changed up the culture and the vibe around this campus. It's really cool to see this crowd out here tonight. Xavier's got great fans as well.
They do. Bell slipping it ahead, comes out wide. Dumbler's way upfield. It'll reverse to Wilson, who transferred in from North Carolina, former Philadelphia Union Academy guy. Went to the YSC Academy.
You would appreciate the Xavier Soccer Complex. We're talking about smoke at times, some vuvuzelas. They've got the big X flag, the extreme fans. They brand themselves as such, and they follow that.
They brand themselves as extreme.
Yes.
Yes.
It fits.
It does. Bell trying to get the cross away. That'll ricochet off of Crawford. Corner coming for the Musketeers here.
Immediately, it's got to flash through Dr. Dave Mazur's mind. Set piece. Another opportunity for Xavier. This is their bread and butter. It's how they were able to get on the board. How does St. John's handle the first corner of the night? Look for Xavier. Go to that far post. Try to make the connection.
Corner whipped into the back post. Good punch there from Hoffelner. Wilson sprays it forward. They can't be direct in this way. It's knocked away from Bell, and the Red Storm in a key transition moment. The run is on for Forster up the left-hand side. A throw coming with Knapp approaching the ball. Knapp keeps it in at the corner flag. Lays it back. The cross brought down Simonson. And this shot will come down to Rosenberg. Forster got the shot away after leading that transition. And it was Lai who had laid it off to him initially with Simonson right in front of him.
When Matt Forster is healthy, he can really be lethal. And this is another opportunity for St. John's. We've yet to see something great, but we've seen some great build-up. They're looking for that end result, and the good news for this St. John's team is they're number 9 in the country because they have been able to find those types of results with 4 players with 2 or more goals. And Mike, you've got 9 different Red Storm players who have scored this year. That's so new for St. John's, and yet something that this program was known for a long time.
To the feet of Henderlong. You know, it is, in Dave Mazur's estimation, I don't think it really applied to the game against Columbia. Blowout victory, 5-1 for St. John's. But so we're finding ways to win. This game can be so unpredictable on any given day. And you just feel like as a team, they're just finding the one little moment that allows them to break through. To throw for St. John's, it'll allow the Red Storm to make a change here. They'll bring on one of their spark plugs, Tani Oluwaseyi.
This is the earliest Tani Oluwaseyi has come into a game this season for St. John's, and it's the first time the Red Storm has trailed this year. When they need a spark, Tani's the one who gives it to them. 3 goals on the campaign, a reigning All-Big East freshman. This is a kid who just knows how to deliver.
Well, in this case, he clips it off his back heel and loses control. Oluwaseyi has scored 3 times, assisted once. 2 of those were game-winning goals. One player born in Nigeria, now a sophomore that grew up in Ontario. Rosenberg. Henderlong does such a good job holding up play, but Simonson cut off the pass, and Knapp knocks it aside. Attack building off the left-hand side for the Red Storm. Early ball for Oluwaseyi, but kept alive. Pure effort. And will spring back out to Henderlong. You get the feeling Xavier's biggest concern coming into this game was how they were going to be able to manage pressure from St. John's. And while the Red Storm have hit home a couple of times, a couple moments like this have sprung out of it. Xavier's been able to make it across midfield and maybe catch the Red Storm a bit out of shape.
Andy Fleming told us, when you play St. John's, it feels like the field is tilted at times. And that's what the Red Storm do so well. They just condense what you're trying to do offensively, and those two turnovers that we just saw moments ago are because of the high pressure. But I think that's where Goodall is so crucial in the back line tonight. In being the anchor of this team and trying to do as much as he can to be that quarterback of the defense and avoid that letdown.
Oluwaseyi for Bustamante. Forster by Lai and toward the back post where Duarte was searching. And Oluwaseyi recovers for the Red Storm. Xavier scored about 13 minutes into this game. Goal number 4 this year for Carson Henderlong. And a Xavier team that is overcoming just tragic circumstances a week ago. The injury to Felix Botangan. Ultimately, they canceled their game against IUPUI and postponed it till this coming week because ultimately the players just didn't want to play soccer after what was a really scarring moment on the field. They really weren't quite sure whether it was going to be fatal or not, the injury to Botangan, who was kicked in the head. But he has since gotten out of the hospital with merely a facial fracture to show for it.
Well, and you always try to take the good out of that one. Sails way over the cage and into the crowd. Tons of Johnny's fans here tonight. You always try to take the good out of a situation, and what comes to mind, here's another look earlier from Forster's shot that was eaten up. What comes to mind, Mike, is the Xavier parents. There were 4 of them who stayed with Felix at the hospital overnight, and Andy Fleming said, that's what this program is about, just whoever can help. Mom had to come internationally, and the parents, they nursed Felix when he needed them most. That says a lot about a program and the people around it.
Oluwaseyi looked like he had been played into the channel. It'll be a goal kick here for Xavier, who felt they were sluggish on Monday, good in practice on Tuesday, and by Wednesday we're in high gear and looking forward to a game like this. Certainly it'll take your mind off of less serious matters.
And Felix paid them a visit.
Yeah, on the way to the airport, right?
Yeah,
as well.
And sent them off here to New York, which is really awesome that he was able to do that. And I don't think he'd want anything less. And for them, his brothers, to give their absolute best on this stage, and they have answered the bell thus far. What a rush for Carson Henderlong. Big East debut. You're in one of the top games of the night in college soccer, if not the top affair, and you're able to give your team the difference through nearly 30 minutes thus far at a pretty packed Belson Stadium.
Einar Lai. Well, there's room here to attack into. Comes out to Brandon Duarte. Early ball for Oluwaseyi. Ball crossed beyond Forster.
I'll tell you, Grant Dumler, nicely done there, just heading that ball away. And against this St. John's attack, 9 different goal scorers, sometimes that momentary play. It may not seem like much, but it can be something that accomplishes the goal you want. What I'm noticing right now, though, Mike, in these recent moments is St. John's really control possession. And it's all starting with some high pressure. Look at the numbers St. John's is sending forward right now on Xavier. Musketeers have to be careful here. That was beautiful.
Whew.
Nasty move.
Man, that goes wrong, and you've got one angry coach. But when it comes off.
Goodall. Hey, he's earned the right.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. You're absolutely right. And they really like this back line between Goodall, and they feel like Kroll could be an All-American down the line, 19 in white and blue.
We talk to a lot of coaches. You talk to a ton of soccer coaches. And how many times when we say, well, let's open the discussion up about your team?
Lie, and that comes all the way to Forrester, still alive. Simonson brought that down and ultimately got tangled up there.
Well, Simonson made a strong run at it here and was at a tough angle where he was. Just couldn't end up getting a good look at it. But once again, for St. John's, they've got to be encouraged by a lot in the build-up here. But going back to talking with Andy Fleming, we said, well, let's talk about your team. And without even saying anything, he goes, you know, we have to start by talking about my back line. I got to bring them up. And he was very, I don't want to say aggressive, but I love how passionate he was about his back line and just what he thinks of them. He loves the way they've played.
Rosenberg delivers it away. They've allowed 5 goals over the last 2 games, but there's a lot under the surface there too, so the number's not quite as good as you would think. Xavier's got a great defense. St. John's has a good defense. They've had a good defense. And Tim Parker is in the crowd today, former Red Storm star, now with New York Red Bulls, played at Vancouver, and a member of the U.S. men's national team. Enjoying the day. Red Bulls look like they're in the thick of the playoff race in the Eastern Conference. FC Cincinnati, on the other hand, in a Xavier-related twist, are notably not. But NYCFC also near the top of the Eastern Conference there, up on Atlanta at present in the standings, as good as Atlanta's played.
To your point on Parker, today 13 Red Storm alums have suited up for MLS teams. And that's just a credit to Dave Mazur and what he's built here.
Oluwaseyi.
Don't give him space.
On the run where he is most dangerous. He levels it off. Shot ripped and knocked over by Rosenberg, denying Lie. Credit where it's deserved. The fans had to scatter that game with so much pace.
Oluwaseyi had plenty of green in front of him, took it on, but a good look, even better stop. Rosenberg standing tall. That was wonderfully done by the redshirt junior.
And they love him as an organizer, but the final frontier, the next frontier for him, making those big saves. He did against Kentucky, another top 10 team, and he just did there. Short corner for the Red Storm. And a second ball recycled in. Gets speared out. Bustamante lobs. And the header continues. Oluwaseyi. And knocked in by Knapp. Effort to settle, and there's a little kick perhaps at the leg of the Red Storm player who's still down in pain. That's Simonson.
St. John's has knocked on the door, but Xavier's handled everything thus far pretty well. Musketeers, with 10 and change left, you have to think that it's on their minds to try to reestablish possession here. Maybe this is a moment where they can.
As it stands now, the Red Storm have 6 of the game's 7 shots and 4 of the 5 shots on target. But Xavier found the breakthrough 13 minutes in. Red Storm going to experience their depth a little bit more. Bring on Nico Petridis off the bench.
2 goals, 2 assists on the season for the senior. He really poses a challenge to a back line. And you said it, Mike, the word is depth. But what I look for here is for Xavier to try to settle the waters a little bit.
Forrester came off. He had a really enlightening performance in the first half. He's missed the last 2 weeks, was injured against App State, and then again against Manhattan. But he looks like he's in Big East Conference form now. Little tug there on the jersey of Duarte, and Knapp levels it off.
I think there's a lot of positives for both teams to take out of the opening 35 minutes here thus far. For Xavier, you were able to break through. Rosenberg handled the biggest test that he's gotten. And for St. John's, the question was, how would they handle a deficit? They've done a nice job. There's been quality build-up here, and it feels like a breakthrough could be in sight.
Is it coming here? Petridis. Karam's back from Simonson. Petridis again. Petridis cutting in. Played that off the outside of his boot and returns back out to Duarte, who sends the cross, header back set by Bustamante, and that'll come out. Rafael Bustamante at times fantastic in the last year, but they feel like he's overachieved. He's got that grit and toughness at left back. I feel like Shaw's done well coming in the absence of Johan Aquilan. But Bustamante's done quite well starting here over the course of the last 6-7 games.
He's got quickness, as you said, feisty in terms of being vocal for this team, and they've got more of that this year.
Here comes the Red Storm splitting the back line again. And that'll go across the penalty spot with a little kick at the ankles there, no? And Sergi goes the other way.
That's the first time St. John's has been disgruntled with a situation. There was some contact there in the box, and Lai didn't like it. For Xavier right now, I think it's important that they head to the locker room with just a sense of organization. We haven't really seen them sustain much in the last 20 minutes in terms of possession at the very least. I think that's important here in the final stretch of this first half.
Wilson comes over to Dumler. Touch there from Alcobi, broke up play initially. Referee going over to check on the Red Storm player.
Here's that beautiful stop from Rosenberg from earlier.
Probably the best chance for the Red Storm thus far.
Absolutely. And a lapse by St. John's causing that foul. So it really gives Xavier a chance, a good team in the air, an opportunity here. 5 Musketeers awaiting.
Owed him. And that gets back set over the goal. Nothing there for Sergi.
We asked Andy Fleming, how has Samson Sergi evolved? And he said just a level of awareness. He could always score it for us. That's always been in place. But he just loves the way that he's become a playmaker, and that's held true in this opening half. Coming up with the assist on the difference in this match, finding Henderlong.
Final 6 minutes of this first half. That Henderlong goal came in the 13th minute. It's a Xavier team. It feels like they're coming together at the right time. They feel like by the time they face Marquette, they're at the midway point of the regular season, and that's where you really want to see the answers begin to form. Not a ton of depth for Xavier. I mean, they'll run 5-6 off the bench with some consistency in these bigger games. They haven't really gone all that deep today. Whereas the Red Storm have been quick to make changes.
They've just got guys in their starting 11, though, that can will them. And Sergei's one of them. When you've got a player at his caliber in the attack and you've got Goodall in your back line, they could just be the anchors for you.
Little turn here from Petridis. It's wiped away by Rosenberg.
How good has he been in this first half? I know he hasn't gotten tested a ton, but I've been impressed by his composure. And Andy Fleming was telling us, he's done the job. I've liked the way that he's just stood in. I think he's picked his spots well and coming off his line a couple of times where St. John's has gotten it deeper, where maybe they have some numbers. You're on the road, just sending it away. At Rosenberg. Manalapan, New Jersey native. I'm sure he's got some family here tonight. Close to home.
Would imagine so. They feel like he's got a chip on his shoulder. Doesn't seem to be playing like it. Leaping all over the place on the night. And the redshirt junior still has a couple of years left here with Xavier. Under 4 minutes to go in this first half. Otim goes back, and the center back Goodall knocks it ahead. On the turn, Cameron Bell. This will go against Bell here. He's got his arms out toward the referee, palms up. What did I do?
Well, in a battle with Duarte there. He came from behind. That's what I think that call stemmed from. Enough contact for the whistle.
It's held by Lai. Moved off onto the left with Petridis' entrance and Forster's exit. Good turn. Eventually find room for the cross. And this is going to fall. Oh, Kobe. Driving into that. Comes back to Chandler.
Uh-oh.
And he left that in a terrible spot. Henderlong. Good recovery by the Red Storm. It'll ricochet a second time. And Sergei on the first time. High and wide by a minuscule margin for Xavier.
This is a mistake by Chandler. He's not looking back, and Henderlong's waiting for it. Capitalized, but just not enough. Good recovery by St. John's, because that could have turned into a disaster late in this first half, and that's the last thing you want to take in with you in the locker room is a 2-goal deficit.
Steered out by Knapp. As we reach 100 ticks to go on the first half clock. Red Storm off to a 6-win start through 6 games. It's as good a start as they've had in their storied history. For Xavier, disappointing loss at Memphis with all kinds of, frankly, disheartening storylines surrounding it. And a draw against Kentucky. But very much a team on the national conversation. Petridis all the way, and a hand to that from Rosenberg at the short post.
Driving in toward the 6-yard box was Nico Petridis. Quick shot, driving shot.
Another strong run from Petridis. Might have gotten a little bit too much on that final touch, Mike, before the shot, which left him at a tough angle. Rosenberg's ready for it, but for St. John's, perhaps one last opportunity. This will be their final chance of the half.
Petridis passed it back to Knapp. He crosses
Knapp,
looking at the back post.
header toward Alcobe, went down. Knapp kept it alive. Oluwaseyi.
To turn. He's fighting with it.
Well, 17 seconds to see if Xavier wants to just confidently walk into the locker room or rush upfield, and it looks like it'll be the former. If you're Xavier, you go on the road to Belson Stadium, you got to feel really good about where you are right now.
Absolutely, because it's been in your defending third for most of the first 45 minutes, but when the Musketeers needed their moment, Samson Sergi capitalized. He found Carson Henderlong 13 minutes in. That's the difference. It feels, though, like the final 45 minutes, if they're as active as these first 45, we've got more goals in store.
All right, well, we have highlights coming up here at the break on the Big East Digital Network as Dave Mazur and his staff make their way off the field looking for an answer here against the Musketeers. Number 9, St. John's, number 19, Xavier. It's 1-0 to the roadside at the break here on the Big East Digital Network presented by SoFi.
Welcome into the Big East Studios in New York City. I'm Megan Caffrey, joined alongside my partner, John Fanta. We welcome you into the first fall sports update of the season. We're so excited to be back.
Music to my ears after a successful non-conference play around the Big East. Now we've got several teams across the league that take momentum as the conference grind revs up, Megan, and that's what you need to get through it.
Let's waste no time and get into 3 things that you need to know around the conference, starting with field hockey. 3 Big East field hockey teams are ranked in this week's NFHCA poll. UConn checking in at number 4, Liberty at 13, and John, amidst a 4-game win streak, Old Dominion cracked the top 25 for the first time this season, coming in at number 22. In volleyball, 2 teams were in the top 20 this week. Creighton hitting a season best ranking, coming in at 15, and Marquette, who's only dropped 2 matches on the season, remains in the top 10 at number 8 this week. And John, women's soccer, they had some impressive non-conference wins.
They did. Georgetown is the cream of the crop in the Big East. Dave Nolan has built a national powerhouse. And for the Hoyas, they went through a changing of the throne in goal from Ariel Sheckman to now Anna Lee. The freshman's coming off a clean sheet, the first of her career, and it came against a tough opponent in a ranked West Virginia team that got shut down offensively at Shaw Field. For the Hoyas, they've got returning veterans. I think of Paula Germino-Watnick, Amanda Carolyn, and then you've got a freshman keeper who now has momentum as conference play inches closer. That is going to be a tough team to handle. But watch out for Butler. Watch out for Providence, too.
Let's turn to Big East men's soccer now. They had a really exciting non-conference season as well, and now things kick into gear with conference play starting up this weekend, and 3 teams were in the top 25 for Big East men's soccer.
And rightly so. For BE football, it got started on opening night. Big East men's soccer was ready from the get-go. I look at a 9-0-1 record on opening night. Xavier making a statement over then number 3 Akron, and that got the Musketeers national attention. Sometimes all it takes is one win, and for St. John's that was the case. They went to NC State, they challenged themselves, and got a victory. Their first over an ACC team since 2010. And then Georgetown, Brian Weiss's reigning Big East champions. The Hoyas went out west. UC Irvine, UCLA, they rolled past them, and then commanded UConn last weekend.
And John, you mentioned St. John's. They are off to a historic start for the season. They are ranked 9th this week. That is a program best for the Red Storm.
Such a steady sophomore class, only in their second years, but the Johnnies have several spark players that can deliver. Skage Simonson, Tani Olawashei, and a role change for Mr. Brandon Knapp from the back line into the midfield, and it's paying off.
And I actually chatted with Brandon Knapp about what's paying off for him personally and this Red Storm squad. The number 9 St. John's Red Storm is off to its best start in program history at 6-0 after taking down Columbia. I'm now joined by midfielder Brandon Knapp, who scored 2 goals in the Red Storm's 5-1 victory Monday night. Brandon, you started off the scoring for your team in the second half. How did the offense really open up in the second?
Yeah, in the second half, we really got going. We created a lot of chances. I really think it started on the defensive end. You know, Coach always talks about our big thing is defensive effort and defensive intensity. I think we really picked it up there. We won a lot of balls in the midfield, got the ball forward early, and then we got the ball wide and got guys in the box like I did on the goal, and we finished off our chances. So I'm glad to see we got 5 goals. It was good.
Brandon, talking about that defense, looking at your goalkeeper situation this season, you have a tandem goalkeeper situation with Luca Cameron and John Hoffman sharing the net. How has the dynamic been between the two of them?
Oh, the dynamic's great. They're both really working hard every day in practice. I really like having both of them back there. It's really good. They're both leaders from the back, starting, you know, it always starts in the back with communication. But they're doing really well, not letting out many chances, not letting out many goals. So I'm really happy with that.
Your team came in ranked number 9 in the latest polls this week. That's the first time St. John's has been in the top 10 in 6 years. What is behind your team's success?
Yeah, it's been really awesome. We've just been working hard every day. We have a lot of different guys who can play a lot of different positions, a lot of depth, which has really helped us. You know, starting from the coaches, they've just been preaching to work hard every day. You know, our preparation has been really good every game. Something that's been important for us, we've been finding a way to win every game. So whether we face a lot of different challenges, a lot of different adversity, but we found a way. So it's been good for us.
When you say finding a way to win, what was the way that your team found to win against Columbia?
We just turned it on the second half. You know, we had a tough halftime talk after the first half was kind of slow, a little bit sluggish, but we just turned it around. The Columbia's a really good team, a lot of good players, as we saw. So we just created a lot of chances and really, grinded it out.
Brandon, you're only a sophomore, and this season you were named one of your team's captains. Where does that leadership come from?
I think I'm just a natural leader. You know, I really like being a leader a lot. There's a lot of different responsibilities, obviously, to take on as a sophomore. But I'm really enjoying it so far. You know, my other captains and I were doing a really good job so far. And I'm just loving being a leader of the team right now.
Last season, your team had the second highest total of freshmen on your squad in the nation. This year, 12 of your team's 15 goals have actually come from that sophomore class. How has your sophomore class grown from last season to now?
You know, I think we've grown a lot. You know, last year was a big step for us. We were freshmen, so kind of getting used to everything at first, but you know, we obviously have some experience now. We're really all coming together. We've developed a lot of different chemistry and stuff. So I think it's good for us to, that we got 12 of the goals. It's really good.
How would you describe the overall chemistry of this year's team?
Oh, the chemistry is great. You know, we're a great group of guys. You know, everyone loves each other. We love coming to practice every day, hanging out with each other. So the chemistry is really good. Who's
probably going to keep practices the lightest? Who's the funniest on the team?
Funniest on the team got to be Kadeem Joseph. He's always got to make it light. Who else? Matt Forster. He's a funny guy. Maybe Johan Aquilon, so one of the French guys. A lot of different funny guys. So
any saying in a different language out on the field?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of different languages. You know, we got the Norwegians speaking to each other. Now we got 2 Germans. It's pretty cool to see the different cultures and stuff.
Your team will take on the 19th ranked Xavier squad this Friday on the Big East Digital Network. What are you looking forward to in opening up conference play, going in undefeated?
Yeah, it's. I'm really excited. I know we're all excited. We're ready to go. Starting conference play. I'm really glad we came in undefeated. Kind of send a message to the conference, but we're ready to go. I know Xavier's a really tough team. It's going to be a really tough game, just like every other game in the Big East. But we're ready to go.
What's that message that you're sending to the conference?
Just we're here. We're ready to go. You know, we're gonna have a good season, along with all the other teams. But we're ready to go.
Brandon, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
From our studios in New York City, he's John Fanta. I'm Megan Caffrey. Thank you for watching and enjoy the second half of your game.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university, we are at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
Welcome back to the Big East Digital Network coverage of men's college soccer. Number 9 St. John's is on upset alert, if you can call it that. It's a perennially ranked Xavier, number 19 in the country, on the road in New York. Let's take a look at first half highlights with John Fanta. Mike Watts, early efforts from St. John's.
Nico Petridis with a strong run into the box, and the Johnnies were able to get some really good numbers forward. Matt Forster just wide right with that look, Mike. And for St. John's, they had 9 shots in the opening 45 minutes. 3 that really stood out to me. That's a nice run from Forster. Here's the goal 13 minutes in, courtesy of Carson Henderlong.
It's Henderlong, 13th minute. Sergei, that little flick, and the set piece to perfection.
Wonderfully done. The Musketeers can strike on set pieces, and this is just a perfect throw-in. Sergei gets his head on it. Henderlong at the 6, and Xavier taking the lead. But then for the ensuing 30 minutes, we really saw St. John's control possession. You see Crawford with a run here, and the Johnnies, they were able to generate plenty of opportunities, just unable to find the end result. But there's reason for positivity in the St. John's locker room right now, that they can break through because of the amount of control they had.
That's a rip by Einar Lai that was parried over by Rosenberg. This swiped away from the goal mouth, and then off a poor turnover by Chandler. Xavier looked like they were off to the races, and on the turn, a dynamic effort from the leading goal scorer in the conference, Samson Sergei, goes longing high.
St. John's with a couple of opportunities deep in the first half, but we talked about Rosenberg. He really stood tall. This is Petridis getting cut off at a tough angle. And right now, Xavier may have the lead, but I don't think we're done at just 1-0, just because of the generation of opportunities from St. John's and just the way that they were able to produce. We'll see what happens in these final 45 minutes. I think it's really important for Xavier in this second half to be able to settle things down in terms of possession, because, Mike, they were outpossessed in the first half despite holding this 1-0 lead.
And you saw the rest of the stats there. Shots 9-3 for St. John's, but they haven't actually put any in the net yet. Big East Digital Network coverage continues after a quick look at Dave Mazur juggling a couple goalkeepers, a feature from the good folks at SJU TV.
In the 117th minute, Tani Oluwaseyi scores for St. John's.
It was a good start because we went down to North Carolina, won both games, and won a game against NC State in dramatic fashion, overtime. kind of propelled with that momentum.
I mean, 6-0 is an amazing feeling. It's you can't start better.
A lot of people have stepped up into, surprisingly, and have really stepped up and shown some maturity and contributions, and so that's been an exciting component of the team.
We had most of our offense right now, and most of our starting lineup has been together for a whole year. I feel like we've grown together, matured.
Tanny gives us some real, pace up front and size and just a knack to score goals. Skage gives us an ability to break people down. Nico did incredibly well in 2 of our matches where, he scored, I believe, a great goal against Iona, and then he had, an unbelievable goal and 2 assists against Columbia.
Splitting half and half. Never experienced it before, but I mean, it worked out. We both get our time. We both doing great. Had good saves.
I've always played 90, so at first playing 45, it's a bit weird, but having that person to push me to play good and perform every 45 minutes, it's a weird feeling, but I feel like it's a good feeling as well.
Jan is a little bit more seasoned, a little bit older, and Luka naturally has just a little bit bigger presence, being 6'6".
I think we both are excited. We both gonna expect a lot of saves. Show them that we're the top 10.
It's time to fuel your ambitions by taking charge of your student debt. At SoFi, we've helped over 250,000 people refinance their student loans, saving thousands of dollars. Now you can pay off your student loans faster and reach your goals sooner. See how much you can save in just 2 minutes at SoFi.com/save.
Black overhead as the sun has set and the spotlight, the floodlights are on at Belson Field in Queens, New York. Xavier 1-0 lead at the break with John Fanta, Mike Watts on the BEDN. Here is your Big East Men's Soccer Weekly honor roll. You see the familiar Derek Otim there from Xavier and Einar live for the Red Storm.
Those 2 players so crucial for their respective groups. Joel Serrano from Providence. The Friars up 1-0 on Seton Hall right now. Josh Cohen on a Marquette team that was able to make it to the Big East Championship game a year ago. Really strong season from Louis Bennett, and then Max DeBrine and DePaul. They drew Villanova earlier.
And your defensive player of the week, Matt Chandler, 180 minutes and a phenomenal couple deep performances.
Zach Riviere from Georgetown. Man, the Hoyas have put together such a strong non-conference resume. Went to UC Irvine and UCLA, rolled past those teams, and then beat UConn last weekend 4-1.
Well, Chandler and the Red Storm trying to hold up here as we go into the second half of play in Queens. Red Storm off to a perfect start through 6 games, and they've climbed the ladder all the way up to number 9. This is the kind of game that Belson Stadium was built for. And if you are Xavier, this is the kind of game historically that you've won. They felt like if they came in, John, with the right mentality, they could pick off the Red Storm.
Absolutely.
Right now, they're halfway there.
1,000%. They have really made it a habit year in and year out of performing on the big stage. 8-2-2 since 2010 against top 10 teams. That's amazing when you think about it. Just 2 losses out of 12 contests. Fantastic resume for Xavier when it comes to big games. Andy Fleming said, my guys tell me I've got something about me before the match that just fires them up. He's a big game coach, Mike.
I guess.
But he's facing a guy on the other sideline that knows how to coach in these big games too.
Yeah, the College Cup here, a College Cup there, 1996 national champions. 10 consecutive years where they found their way into the round of 16. I mean, you're talking about one of the storied programs in the NCAA men's soccer stratosphere the last, 3 decades. Attack is on here through Lai. Oluwaseyi was phenomenal at the end of the first half. He's got the ball at his feet, and that'll go into the recently completely packed grandstand on the left-hand side here at Belson. The end with St. John's goalkeepers completely empty. It was a complete migration.
A migration that just met Tani Oluwaseyi if they hadn't met him before. That was a bullet. What a crowd here tonight, though, at Belson. This atmosphere is special, and it's a sign of a top 10 program in the country right now. And just an atmosphere here at St. John's that special things are happening, as we've talked about. But that's why this is a proper opposition for tonight. Xavier's very comfortable in big matches, and they've showed it with their track record, and it shows on the scoreboard thus far this evening.
Bellavance for Burnson. Certainly not scared in a conference full of big game atmospheres. Anytime you go out to Omaha or you go to Georgetown, you're talking these programs that expect to be nationally ranked every year, and the fans know it too.
It's only going to get bigger next year.
True.
With UConn coming in, that's another big game on your conference slate. The Huskies have a strong men's soccer program.
Ray Reed and the gang coming back to the Big East next year. A lot of excitement. And not just because the Huskies will be back at Madison Square Garden.
There's 2 occurrences of note where a dog has been inside Madison Square Garden in the past year. The Westminster Dog Show and the UConn announcement was so big that Jonathan Husky came inside the MSG lobby and they let him in.
Butler Blue wasn't allowed for the tournament?
I'm going to decline to comment.
Oh, wow. You know, I didn't know that Madison Square Garden took issue with Huskies but not with Bulldogs, or vice versa, I suppose.
Not
Little
sure.
Contact there from behind. And first time we've seen Noah Baffo in this game, the freshman from Columbus.
A surprise for Andy Fleming when we talked to him, not so much in what Baffo's been able to do, but he said, coming in, sometimes you're not sure how immediate a player's reaction will be to everything you're trying to set up for them. He said he's just playing mindless soccer. He's just playing with his own instinct, and he said, I mean that as a compliment.
Good all into the mixer. And that's snagged. Well, Hofflner has started every game this year for the Red Storm, and then they've given it away to Luca Gavrin from there. Play will come back, yellow card coming on the foul by Xavier.
This one's on Ryan Bellavance.
Yeah, he walked right up and accepted that one, didn't he?
He got in a tangle with Oluwaseyi. This is an interesting position for St. John's to have a reset here. With the just amount of pieces they have up top, look for something in the air here.
Brandon Knapp doesn't have an assist yet this year.
I
It
know.
won't come here. Julo. Oluwaseyi. Otim knocked off the ball. Oluwaseyi right at the goalkeeper Rosenberg, who skitters aside, falls on top of it.
Oluwaseyi and Odom, such a strong midfielder. Didn't matter here because Oluwaseyi, anytime he's near the ball, it just seems as if he's a magnet.
He has really come on and changed the entire tenor of the offense for St. John's.
Different level of presence, Mike.
Well, he wanted this all the way. Chested back, and the whistle blows here against the offside Nico Petridis, who himself is a transfer from UConn, but won't see the Huskies next year. He's a senior.
I think if you're Dave Mazur, the concern might have been at the half that you could lose the rhythm that you had for most of the first half and the way that you control things, just knowing the kind of opponent Xavier is. But I haven't sensed that.
Petridis lost it to the touchline. Dave Mazur is a institution in collegiate soccer and at St. John's. Mazur coming into this game, talking about the increased level of Division I men's college soccer, how the margins have shrunk over the years, and you know it's a Big East that asked a lot of him when it reconfigured to keep this team relevant.
And while they've had some struggles here and there, I think that's a reflection of some of the competition within the conference and the amount of parity within the league. But I think this sophomore class with Knapp, with Simonson, Oluwaseyi can get St. John's back to that level. And to your point on Mazur, 414 career wins. That's 7th among active coaches. This sets up a nice storyline for Monday night. Sasho Sorovsky from Maryland at 416. And they'll square off on Monday. Two guys who know a thing or two about the big game stage. Maryland also ranked.
Currently number 25, the reigning national champions. Long throw. They're looking for Sergi for that flick again. Ball lifted toward goal and yanked down by Gavrin. The thing about Maryland is they lost so many good players to MLS over the offseason. Guys to homegrown deals, guys to the draft. I mean, they're still a really solid team. The 25 next to their name indicative. But it's probably a big ask to think that they'll be back in a national championship game this year.
Well, they've got a nearby counterpart in the DMV that might want to say something about that.
True enough.
Their name's the Georgetown Hoyas.
All of a sudden, Georgetown men and women look like they're College Cup contenders these days.
Absolutely. Dave Nolan's been to 2 with his women.
Yeah.
And now Brian Weiss.
Oluwaseyi, that touch had to be perfection, and it was. He's done it not once but twice. Goodall simply by himself denying St. John's a breakaway.
Wonderfully done by Xavier's anchor. But just to finish that point, Brian Weiss has put together a really strong Georgetown program. Everything is aligning for them heading into this year as we've got an injury here on the other side of the field. It's Luke Hansen, Mike.
Hansen, who they just got back. He was injured in the opener. He's played 3 times, but hasn't quite been right, and he is putting no weight on his right leg as he's helped off the field. And that's got to be a really disappointing situation there for the young man.
Oh, Big East Defensive Player of the Week earlier this year was part of that strong opening weekend. Here he is. He just gets caught and immediately limping after that tangle with Noah Baffo. Hate to see such a solid player for the Red Storm go down again.
Well, the Red Storm, 11 shots in this game. They have both shots of the second half. Rosenberg has made 6 saves, including 1 in this second half. Julo, the native of Connecticut. And a little tussle at the byline. It's with Xavier here with the clock continuing to tick. Xavier came in with the number 7 recruiting class in the country. They lost maybe their most exciting prospect, a Norwegian striker, to Stabæk. which some fans may know as Bob Bradley's former club in Norway, among American parlance. Oluwaseyi. Kroll had a little bit of a lead early. Oluwaseyi leaping into the challenge. It'll be with the Muskies here. Or no, they'll change it to the Red Storm.
Wow.
Oluwaseyi was a little beside himself.
Yeah. He went to court for a moment with the official, won his case. Man, he is just so fun to watch. It doesn't matter whether he's putting a shot on target or just racing after a ball. The effort's relentless.
Toward Simonson, falls to Knapp. Knapp on the turn, lofting toward the back post, and Rosenberg arrives at the edge of the 6-yard box.
Now the question is becoming, can Xavier stave off what has been just a frenzy from St. John's? You see what Rosenberg's been able to do. And based on the way St. John's has continually put balls near the box in dangerous positions, it leads one to believe that the Johnnies aren't done here. Plenty of time for them to continue to put good looks together. And the way this game's gone, it's been St. John's just tilting the field.
Lai making a run down the middle. Rosenberg has to poke this over. I don't think that was across the Lai at all. I think that was aimed for upper corner and nearly snuck by Rosenberg. Acrobatic effort.
Coming off a 12-save performance, Rosenberg showing us his full skill set tonight. Another test, and he handles it well.
Petridis getting up and down the right-hand side. He and Oluwaseyi coming off the bench, having a magnificent impact. Ton of traffic in front of goal. Petridis, the cross, header, in! Equalizer! He goes to Duarte, and the captain celebrates. Duarte's first of the year could not have come at a better time.
What a time for it. This ball was perfectly placed from Petridis, and Brandon Duarte taking another look, go to the back post, and in the air, St. John's is dangerous. Duarte proves it. We have a whole new game at a rocking Belson Stadium.
What a moment for the Red Storm, who had not trailed all year. Fell behind inside a quarter hour, and Lai giving chase at Rosenberg, who was able to corral it. And we'll see how Xavier responds to being caught from behind for the third consecutive game.
Man, is this one living up to the hype. Two top 20 teams to kick off Big East play, and they've both delivered a beauty. That's just getting started.
High arcing cross towards Simonson. Contact. Referee allows play to continue over Skage Simonson's continued argument. But the attack remains on. Julo crossing Simonson over. Rather, it's Lai who shifted that high.
Mike, I think it's really important in this moment for Xavier to try to settle back in here, because the way the crowd's going, the way St. John's has been getting it into their attacking third repetitively. Now Rosenberg's let one in. The Red Storm, they just have continually possessed in this match and outpossessed the Musketeers for a great deal of it. This just feels like a crucial 5 to 10 minutes here for Xavier, not just to settle back in, and it's one thing to not give up anything more, but they've got to reestablish possession.
Petridis. Nothing doing there. Well, St. John's equalizing here. You tell me which looks better. This is what a player does, and this is what a fan does.
The former, in this case.
Be aware of flying balls into...
I like the emotion.
Yes.
I like the reaction.
Flicked away here by Goodall. I just... That is mean-spirited by our crew, isn't it?
No, it's lovely.
Okay.
It's fantastic. You know what? We love that. And you know what? This crowd tonight and the reaction, it feels like a playoff game here, doesn't it?
This could be a playoff game here down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw this same thing play out at the start of November, I think nobody would be surprised.
And we've been doing games across the Big East for a while since reconfiguration, but this one's lived up to the hype. It's the first ranked showdown for St. John's between two top 25 teams since the Big East reconfigured. And in every which way, it's been a lot of fun with 30 minutes to go. I think we just go back to it. For Xavier right now, they need Sergi. They need Odom, who's in the midfield. And Andy Fleming says Odom is the key to their rhythm. He's got to get them back into a rhythm right now. It's crucial for the Musketeers here on the road. And I'll tell you what's good about the fans migrating to the St. John's goal. It's awfully quiet, and Xavier's attacking third. They can focus in.
Derek Odom, underrated seemingly by everybody. I mean, people, coaches, and players and fans alike have all remarked about how good he's been over the last few years, and yet never seems to get the proper recognition when it's done. 11 in white and blue. Odom on the ball here. Nottingham Forest youth. Pretty good goal scorer for Not Forest as well. Oh, goodbye lie. That was the truth. Bellavance a second time. That time gets collapsed upon, and it'll get away from Olu Washei. Bellavance and Lai coming together again. Julot.
The question coming in is the referee having St. John's reset things. The question coming into this night was how these two teams would handle this big of a stage. Xavier familiar with the showdowns against top 10 teams. St. John's, a little bit uncharted territory for them. Well, then they go down 1-0, had not trailed all season. They handled that really, really well against a ranked opponent nonetheless.
They did. They kept their head proper height. I'm just going to say I'm a little surprised that they had them throw again because the player was too far back a moment ago. But anywho, it's with Xavier for a throw now.
It's an observation from you.
I'm quickly observing. Anywho.
At Mike Watts on air on Twitter, folks.
Okay. Oluwaseyi sending that into the stands. A screaming reminder to all those to pay attention. It's going to be a corner here for the Red Storm. And lest you forget, it was a header down by Duarte that gave the Red Storm the lead. And the fans behind the goal have stood up. They know just how important this moment could be. Red Storm looking to go ahead for the first time in this game. Ball lobbed across, same neck of the woods as previous. Header here is wide. Oluwaseyi looking to spark this crowd into euphoric proportions.
His coaches said about this matchup, we mirror each other in a lot of ways. We like to get things done tactically. We like to score off set pieces. Tonight the set pieces have been a thing of beauty. And Oluwaseyi, this one just sails over the cage. Love the fans' reaction there. They sense it. The buzz is real. I think these two teams have validated their standing nationally here tonight.
At minimum, they've validated their standing within the Big East. I mean, if you're St. John's, I don't think anyone really anticipated that you'd be this good this year.
You were picked 7th in the preseason poll.
And you're going toe-to-toe with Xavier, and I know it's at Belson. But you'd have to say for St. John's, this is a really nice moment for Xavier. They've done it all year long against top 25 teams. Bell. Wilson wanted it at his feet. Ball clipped away by Chandler. Oluwaseyi.
And around the Big East tonight, Providence up 1-0 on Seton Hall at Chappie Stadium in Friartown. Number 3, Georgetown facing a road test at Butler. Hoyas up 1-0.
Play on, referee giving advantage to Xavier. What a gorgeous stadium they built in Friartown, by the way.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they've done over there. Bob Driscoll, the athletic director, has been incredible. That Cooley guy has something to do with the culture over there, too.
Oh, yeah?
A thing or two.
Not his first rodeo. We'll see what Providence can put together. They put out probably the best player from the Big East MLS over these last few years in Julian Gressel, who continues to star for Atlanta United.
Craig Stork going to a College Cup.
Yeah. That's a good step there by Lai. Oluwaseyi. Well, they've put 2 center backs on him when he makes that run forward. He's a little bit lonely up there on direct play.
Double coverage is respect in every way, shape, and form. I would do the same thing. Oluwaseyi, the one thing you don't want, Mike, is for him to get a runaway, because if he is able to find separation, that could be ball game.
It's going to be a free kick for Xavier. You think about the tall forwards they have, Botangan unavailable for obvious reasons if you paying attention earlier in the broadcast, but Henderlong and Sergei both, the ability to occupy a center back and make life abhorrently difficult with their physicality and size. In this instance, Xavier decides to go short. Slipped over to Wilson, turned over. Oluwaseyi for St. John's. Terry, save Rosenberg, and he's on it now. Hands to his head, he was that close.
What did we just get done talking about? This is the last thing you want if you're Xavier, and it's put right on Rosenberg's frame. Luckily, he's in the right spot for his sake. But my, oh my, Oluwaseyi, he is just lethal, Mike. You have to take him into account at all times. And if you're Andy Fleming, you've got to be upset, because that's the one way you do not want to walk out of here tonight, is getting beat by the guy that you have to scout and prepare for.
Coming off the bench is a bit of a misnomer. He could just as easily be a starter. But this is where they feel he can make the biggest impact. A throw here for the Red Storm, or rather a free kick off the foul.
And when you talk to people around this team, they say there's just a different culture, that Tanny's okay with that. There's role definition here, and different guys have accepted it.
Petridis has Julo And now Lai, who strides into the ball. That clearance right up Main Street. Now Kobe stepped in, but the Musketeers have it here. There's a buzz here at Belson in New York. Is this their moment? Petridis! Petridis! Yes! St. John's leads from a goal down to a goal up.
St. John's leads now 2-1 with 21 minutes left to go in the second half here.
Well, believe this team's for real. They're just over 20 minutes away from one of the bigger wins Belson Stadium has seen in the new Big East.
The third goal of the year for the senior. It comes off a turnover by Xavier. 1 assist for Petridis, and now the biggest goal of St. John's season in their top 20 showdown sends this place into a frenzy. And on a team that's got a lot of youth, Mike, you still need experienced players to deliver in his senior season. What a moment for Nico Petridis. St. John's proving its value here tonight at home and capitalizing. And now the control that they've had has churned out the results that they've been looking for.
What a moment for Petridis. The other goal came from Brandon Duarte. And believe this, 2 seniors coming up with giant goals. Steered away from Oluwaseyi, and the referee not going to give the foul there, but he will here. Foul from Duarte.
You have to remember, St. John's controlled the first 10 minutes of this match, and then Xavier silenced this place in the 13th minute. As Petridis has come off and taken a seat after his 3rd goal of the year. I mean, the assist on the entrance off the corner was fantastic. But I think it's really important. You can't let all the emotion now result in a lapse, because Xavier will capitalize. They've showed us already they're capable of that. But for the Musketeers, Mike, they just have not had control of the rhythm and pace of this match. And Andy Fleming said that was the top key. He said we have got to have rhythm, and we have to match St. John's competitively. He said nobody plays harder than them. And I think we've seen the results of how hard St. John's plays. They went down 1-0. You would have never thought they were facing a deficit. They never changed from their identity. And that says something.
That goal by Petridis in the 69th minute. Nice for St. John's. Jumping back in front, 2-1. Two goals inside a quarter hour. And they've tried to switch the point on this set piece. Get Xavier a bit out of sorts. Teixeira. Bell gave pursuit. Kept alive, Julo. Not going to get that call. 2 players getting tangled up, edge of the penalty area. Sergi. Back by Duarte. We've talked about whether or not Xavier be able to take it to St. John's. They've been here, done that, top 25. For St. John's, it's a new feeling. You can count on 2 hands the number of teams in this country unblemished. No losses, no draws. And the Red Storm now inside 20 minutes to maintaining their place in rarefied air. Julo. Knapp. Comes down to Duarte, and he has no problem lobbing it back to his own goalkeeper.
You start the season 6-0, and St. John's has experience in one-goal games. They've played 3 of those. So they've found ways to finish. And I think, Mike, what we've seen tonight is a team that, although they hadn't trailed yet this season, they really haven't wavered in their approach, and they found ways to win. And that can be infectious, no matter what the circumstances are. The attack has not changed. Their shape's been really strong. And ever since Tani Oluwashi came into this match, the whole complexion of it just changed in what St. John's possibilities could be offensively.
Turned back to Lai. Comes over to Julo, the freshman. Early ball over Forster. There's Rosenberg. He is yet to really struggle this year. You think about the last 2 games, yeah, they gave up 5 goals. You would hardly say that was his problem. And talk about a guy who just knows how to win. He's conceded twice tonight, but come up with 8 often big saves for Xavier. Well, the Red Storm net has only been tested once. I'll say this, you talk with the St. John's coaching staff and what the players think, the adulation that they've gotten of late, who knows, but they didn't really feel like it was that big a deal.
No, and that's it's our job to build up every storyline that we've got, and when you're ranked number 9 in the country.
And it's Dave Mazur's job to poke a hole in the balloon and let all the air out.
Which is kind of what he did, but you know what? It's working. It's working, and it's worked for nearly 3 decades.
There have been some up and down moments since the recreation of the Big East. I mean, the Big East tournament has not been a common home for the Red Storm since college athletics went through that dynamic reconfiguration.
But sometimes you talk to coaches.
Julo wants the ball, but the shot here is ripped right at Rosenberg.
You get coach speak answers, and you get the common vanilla answers. One thing that I can say anytime I've got St. John's men's soccer is the opposing coach says, well, anytime we face this team, and typically it's teams that have met St. John's for a long time, they just say, you have to prepare differently. You have to be in the film room an extra hour watching a team play, because you're trying to figure out how Dave Mazur gets his guys at a work rate that he does. In 2019, when training sessions can be different and when there's just different guidelines to everything, and student athletes have even tougher schedules, he still gets the very best out of them. And that says a lot about the coaching pedigree, about the career of Dave Mazur, and the identity of St. John's men's soccer. And now we're starting to see those results that the program's become familiar with.
Lai. That came right back to him. Lai, Julo. Bunch of red jerseys in the area. High hop. Got away from Henderlong. And a foul against the Red Storm.
When is that moment? If there is a moment for Xavier, when's it going to come? They don't have a shot in this second half. And that is something that's staggering. Musketeers need a spark.
And what's tough is they may not really have one waiting on their bench, which is even thinner than one would imagine. I mean, that is the Red Storm don't have enough seats. And Xavier's in a bit of a different position right now. Oldham. Turn, Sergei, back post, and he missed it. Is that the turning point for Xavier where they start to apply the pressure here late?
It could be, and it looks like Andy Fleming might be trying to search for that spark here because he's going to his bench.
Chase Webert comes in. And we'll see how this changes practically their tactical look. That's Bellavance who comes off, the redshirt senior defender playing on a yellow card. Bell to Webert from the Baltimore area. Xavier, one of college soccer's most prominent programs over the last decade, the last 8 years. A lot of big moments under Andy Fleming. And as John mentioned previously, some otherworldly numbers against top 10 teams. Campfire. And St. John's will eventually get the ball back for a moment. I mean, 3 different players were waiting for someone to go get it.
This is why you schedule Akron, Kentucky, Memphis.
But that's why they want to schedule Xavier too. I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, that is a great match for Akron to play at the outset of their year.
Absolutely. At Xavier, nonetheless.
Yeah.
You know, an interstate showdown. And that's a reflection on both those programs. But this is why you schedule those teams, because for the final 11 and a half minutes, you know how to handle a big game situation. Xavier knows how to handle it. I don't think they're done. But whatever it is, you have to expect that Samson Sergi is going to be near it or impacting it in some way, shape, or form. They have to find a way to give their senior a chance. That's got to be the goal here.
Both teams looking to move atop the Big East at the end of the opening night in conference play. Wherever you're watching, this is probably the best game of the night in men's college soccer on paper. And the Red Storm have been the far better team over the course of the opening 80 minutes. They've peppered the Xavier goal with 11 shots on target. And yet, Odom with a chance to equalize. Referee, whistle to his mouth, will point for a free kick from 23 yards out. He allowed advantage to be played, realized it was going to pit her out, and give Xavier a prime opportunity.
It's the right call from outside the box. And a golden chance for Xavier, a team that executes set pieces so dangerously well. Sergi talking with the official right now, and Odom trying to just walk this off. You have to think. I'm curious to see what they'll try here.
I think this is pretty straightforward. Gavrin is a tremendous athlete, jump out of the gym kind of athlete. Can cover all areas. Red Storm trying to get in position. Slide down from Webert. And a foul gives Xavier prime real estate inside 4 minutes.
Dave Mazur's not pleased with his group right now. Immediately putting his hands up in the air because this is a tough spot to give up a foul and to allow Xavier to go to the back post potentially and find a head in the air.
This is not only their first Big East game of the season, they're playing their first ranked opponent of the season, number 19 Xavier. They will go away on Monday.
Set piece for the Musketeers. With time waning, it's punched away by the goalkeeper. And knocked over the top again. Gavrin did well, and now the Red Storm off on the run. Petridis continues. It must be now for St. John's. 3-1 Red Storm. Surely that's it. The entire team leaping into the dog pile. And the Red Storm are going to knock off a ranked opponent at home. And they may not be number 9 for long. Their climb continues.
Mike, this is a 50-yard run. This is an absolutely outstanding coast-to-coast takeover. I mean, unbelievable here. This athleticism is superb. That's how you put an exclamation point on a dream night for a senior, a dream night for the Red Storm. Nico Petridis, you are getting honored by the Big East on Monday. Holy smokes.
Second goal today, fourth of the year. And he loves what his seniors brought to the table. And for the second consecutive time he scored, Petridis is immediately off the field.
And if there were such a thing as a curtain call, he deserves it right now. Because Nico Petridis just showed us what a dagger looks like. The athleticism that was just on display, I can't wrap my head around how unbelievable that was from a senior. And what did Xavier say coming into this match? Andy Fleming said, could we match St. John's toughness and competitive heart? Nico Petridis just put it away.
Here it comes again. Oluwaseyi. Pulling by Wilson. Lobbed into the right channel. Ball crossed, brought down. Is there an effort to turn and shoot here for Lai?
What a statement-making performance for St. John's. This program ranked in the top 10 for the first time in 6 years. Last time they played a top 10 showdown was against Creighton in the Big East opener, the reconfigured Big East. First encounter between those two teams in conference play, and St. John's fell short. Well, they're sticking in the top 10.
Teixeira with the curl one behind the back line for Oluwaseyi, who claps back to the crowd as he runs away. This is turned straight over to Lai. Lai, Oluwaseyi. And now it's the defender that comes in behind Rosenberg and knocks it out. It was Kroll. A minute to go in Queens. It's going to be 2 consecutive games against top 25 teams. One at home against Xavier, and then they'll go on the road to Maryland to begin next week. They'll be atop the Big East standings with one match day in the books. And it is a magnificent moment for those who have come out. A party-like atmosphere from the outset. 21 shots to 5. St. John's going now for their 7th consecutive win to start the year. And with the margins getting slimmer and slimmer in D1 and St. John's teetering in terms of its relevance in the Big East in years prior, this year they look legit. And they've taken Xavier to task at Belson today in staggering fashion with a free kick and 15 seconds to go. Xavier has dealt with so much adversity over the last week, but they're not going to be able to get a win tonight. Crowning achievement for St. John's. Number 9 rolls over number 19, Xavier. 3 goals to 1.
Red Storm seals the 3-1 win. As Nico Petridis with 2 goals in the game, along with Brandon Duarte.
3-1 St. John's, and Nico Petridis with 2 goals in the second half after Brandon Duarte found the equalizer. And these fans leave enthralled by a top 25 win. Our coverage on the Big East Digital Network not over yet. St. John's a 3-1 winner over Xavier. John Fanta heads down to the field and joins us for the postgame when we come back.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university, we are at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
It's time to fuel your ambitions by taking charge of your student debt. At SoFi, we've helped over 250,000 people refinance their student loans, saving thousands of dollars. Now you can pay off your student loans faster and reach your goals sooner. See how much you can save in just 2 minutes at SoFi.com/save.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university, we are at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
It's time to fuel your ambitions by taking charge of your student debt. At SoFi, we've helped over 250,000 people refinance their student loans, saving thousands of dollars. Now you can pay off your student loans faster and reach your goals sooner. See how much you can save in just 2 minutes at SoFi.com/save.
At St. John's University, our students believe, serve, explore, and achieve. A Catholic, Vincentian, metropolitan, and global university, we are at the heart of where lives are enriched. We provide a transformative education that goes far beyond the classroom. We aspire to do more. And for nearly 150 years, the St. John's story has been the story of New York City. We are New York's team. We are St. John's.
the St. John senior, Nico Petrides, 2 goals and an assist, including a dagger that I'm still hearing your breath right now because it was unbelievable. Your run to the goal in this 3-1 win over Xavier. How did this night sum up what your program's been working for?
You know, last year we came in with a very young team, a lot of new guys, and, you know, it's kind of like a building year. And the first game back this year, we said we're not a young team anymore. We're a team that has a full year of experience. And right from the start, from our first game, there's been that new energy this year, and we're hungry, and we're just going to keep on going. This is just more motivation for us for the next couple games.
You had the assist that led to the goal to tie this match, then had 2 goals yourself. What did you find that led you to results?
You know, honestly, it's just my teammates giving me good balls, just lifting me up every play. Even the guys that are on the bench with us, the energy that this team gives you, it's just, there's nothing like it. It's unbelievable.
On that second goal of the night for you, the third for your team, I know you're giving credit to your teammates, but take us through what's going through your mind in those moments.
You know, it was a ball into the box, and we did a good job of winning it, and then we flicked it on, and I saw the space, and I just took it. And, you know, we had an unbelievable crowd here tonight, and I'm just glad that we were able to pull this off for them.
To open up Big East play with a win over 19th ranked Xavier, and to now be 7-0, for you as a senior, what's the significance?
You know, I've had 3 great years, but this is the last one, and I'm just doing everything I can to make it count. And honestly, we're going to enjoy it tonight, but we're back to Maryland Monday, and hopefully we can keep this streak going.
How much fun is it to play here when you've got those students behind the cage?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Without them, we don't know if we could have pulled this off. They're here right from the start of the whistle, just pushing us through the entire time, and it's good to score and go up to them and just give them what they deserve.
I think you got a post-game locker room scene waiting for you.
I think so.
Go enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Nico, thanks so much. Mike, back to you.
Here from Nico Petrides. John Fanta can add that to his collection. Feel-good moments here at St. John's as, well, the Big East Digital Network brought you a good one today as number 9 St. John's rolls on a 7-0 start. Xavier falls as they've dealt with a real difficult couple of weeks, and they'll try and bounce back against IUPUI in the midweek, while St. John's will take on number 25 Maryland. For John Fanta, our entire crew led by KJ Hamm and Mike Watts saying, thanks for watching the Big East Digital Network presented by SoFi. The final score from Queens, it's the Red Storm 3 and the Musketeers 1. Good night. Yeah, someone turn this at the half, 1-0, but St. John's picks up 3 second half unanswered and knock off number 19, 3-1. Mike Watts back with you for the postgame. Things started off pretty well if you're Xavier. They dealt with so much tragic circumstance over the last week, but it's Carson Henderlong who scores the opener, Bell with the throw, Sergi, the leading scorer in the Big East, little back tap, and a turning effort off the volley. Knocks it in for Henderlong, his 4th of the year, and just like that,